It's Monday, December 30th, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we'll be covering on today's episode. We'll have the details on a massive data leak from smart home product manufacturer Wyze, which potentially exposed the personal information of millions of customers. And Apple has been jumping into a number of different services to bolster its roster of offerings, but rumors are now circulating they could be announcing a new gaming dedicated computer. We've also got some great guests, including Mike Merrill, the world's first publicly traded person. We'll discuss what it's like to have shareholders make decisions for you. And we've got our own Drew Prindle joining the show for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, where we discuss some of the most innovative and sometimes strange products that exist on the world's crowdfunding platforms. All that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Getting back into the swing of things. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, bringing you the trending tech topics of the day, news, interviews, headlines, discussions, and so much more, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So all of those are places you can find us, and we appreciate everybody who joins us on this. It's always fun bringing you the news. We've got a couple of days left in 2019 to wrap up everything that's happening now before we look forward to 2020. So let's get it started right now. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Luke Larson. Hello, Luke.
Hello, Greg. Feels good to be back in the old saddle.
Back in the saddle, you know, and take a couple of days off. Just got to get the bearings once again. But there's a lot going on as always in tech. So let's get going, shall we? Let's talk about this. To start off, this has to do with yet another data leak, and this one is coming from smart home manufacturer Wyze. So Wyze makes some pretty innovative cameras. We've talked about them before here on the show, but this is a data leak that they announced. It was just a couple of days ago that they said this had been happening for actually quite some time. So the data leak itself had existed, and the data was exposed between December 4th and December 26th, 2019. That's quite a long time to have this out here, and here's what happened. Essentially, they said that personal information of millions of its customers was exposed on the internet. Now, they said there were no passwords involved, so that's a good sign. But a lot of personal information, including email addresses, Wi-Fi network IDs, and body metrics, because of the fact that they had some different beta testing going on for certain people, were also exposed. And this is coming on the heels of all of these other data leaks that we've been getting here at the end of the year, and just one more example of not handling your data very well.
Is there anything more creepy than body metrics?
Body metrics, yeah, just that phrase alone. My body metrics were exposed. That's not a comfortable phrase for anyone to utter. Yeah, and this is because of, and this is a small amount of people that had that. They said there was about 140 beta users participating in the testing of new hardware where their height, weight, gender, and other health information were exposed. So that was a small percentage, but potentially millions. I believe it was up to possibly 2.4 million people had their data exposed that are using these Wyze devices. A lot of them are cameras, is what they have, or smart home cameras. That's just a big issue. And what they said, this was actually exposed by a cybersecurity firm called 12 Security. And what Wyze has said is that it was actually because of one of their employees not following security protocols, and that's how this was exposed. I think the key thing to me is, that's fine. People do make mistakes. I mean, that's expected, but you need to have some kind of a system to double check that, you would think.
Yeah, it feels a little weird to just blame it on one employee.
Yeah, it was Dale. Dale didn't do it right.
This entire leak be based on one employee's decision or something.
Yeah,
like
the
that.
Entire company, like 2.4 million customers are exposed because one person didn't follow their protocols.
Yeah, if that can happen just based on one person's decision or whatever, being lazy about something, it's like maybe you need to install some more barriers so that this doesn't just happen.
Right.
Know?
Check Dale's work. I mean, come on. So that's what we're looking at here. You know, is just, and this comes in like I said, like this long line of what we've been having. I mean, really not just this year. It's been going on for a long time, but we're seeing more and more of these leaks go on. It's just, how do we protect ourselves from this?
I mean, there are more smart cameras and those types of devices in homes more than ever now. So it's like now we're starting to see that stuff really come out. And the most worrying thing is like you mentioned, this has been happening for a while.
Yeah.
And like, who knows what other devices that we own, that we have in our houses are doing stuff like this right now. We just don't even know about it.
Yeah, I mean, just in the last couple of months, you've had all the Ring leaks.
Yeah, the Ring ones.
Nest has had their own issues. You know, this is Wyze coming on the heels of that. Just as more and more people are buying all of these smart home products, we're seeing more and more of these leaks.
Like, are there any safe? That's
I don't
pretty
know.
much all the main ones, right? Like, what else is there so...
Just assume you're living in the Truman Show and that everybody's watching everything you do. I mean, is that what we have to come down to? You know,
forfeit your body metrics.
Right? Yeah, that's just where we're at. But that's what we're seeing right now. So again, this is from Wyze. So you can take a look at digitaltrends.com and find out some more information. They said that they did say, you know, according to them, that there were no passwords. They said that if you are a customer, you should probably change your password anyway. Get a new password token is what they're saying, and then also you'll be noticing some updates. They said that their products are going to be.
I hope so.
You would hope so as well. So that's where we're at, and Wyze just another one in these line of all these companies that are having issues with these data leaks. So again, take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. All right, continuing on here with some trending news. This comes from YouTube, and in particular, it has to do with how videos targeted to children are rated metrically, so how they handle data, how Google handles the data from those. And this is a big thing. If you remember, just last week we were talking about how the biggest earner on YouTube last year was actually a child who I believe made like $26 million or something ridiculous. Reviewing toys. Yeah. So these are videos that are targeted towards kids, and Google and YouTube have made some changes to that to where when you're uploading videos, if you're a YouTube creator, you have to specifically say these videos are for children or are not for children, because that changes a lot. There's a lot of legal ramifications that we can talk about that come with this. But now Google said they are going to actually just stop mining the data from these, stop keeping track. They're not going to keep track of all of the data coming from these videos that are targeted towards children, which is good for a few reasons, as far as they're not going to have all this information on kids watching and what they're watching. But for these creators, it's going to cost them a ton of money, because that means that they don't have the metrics to back up what they're doing. They can't, some of the videos that they want to place on there, they're not going to be allowed to do that. So this kid who made $26 million, you know, there's a lot of other people making a lot of money on these videos.
Yeah.
You know, and realistically, like, don't feel too bad for that one. But yeah, there's a lot of people that make, you know, some substantial extra income off their YouTube channels, and this could all be going away. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like some of the top channels, the most subscribed channels of all time are kids' channels, including some of the most viewed videos of all time. So
yeah, it's a huge platform.
It's a really huge platform for kids, and it's one that like it's not just like, oh, there are these companies out there making kids content. Like, kids really do go to YouTube for content. Like, I know some kids that are just like, that's what they do, you know?
Yep.
And that's
I was around some during the holidays. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
They were watching YouTube on their laptops or whatever.
Yeah, on their phones or whatever. Yeah. So it's definitely a thing, and I think this is a necessary change. I don't know if this is going to be the correct one, but like, it is important for YouTube to start taking this seriously and like considering, okay, like how they categorize these videos and how much data they collect from them. All that stuff is really important, and I think they're going to have to figure this out. It's really important that they figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, and which way it goes, because right now they're saying that this is, you know, YouTube's response to FTC allegations that they were tracking children's online activities, which is a violation of the 1998 Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. So there's a lot of, like I was saying before, a lot of legal ramifications that come into this, and it's YouTube trying to say like, hey, we're following what you said, like we're doing what we're supposed to. But yeah, it is gonna hurt creators, and that also could lead to less content online. You know, some people, if they're using this as a supplemental income thing or using that to pay for their production, and now they can't get any money out of that, well, that makes it a lot harder to produce quality videos if you're not getting any kind of income off of it.
We'll have to see how it affects like stuff like advertising and like affect their their revenue, and
because advertisers are going to be very nervous about this as well, about where they're going to be putting their money. So it's a lot that's happening with that, and I think the ramifications we're not going to really know for a little while, but this is the next step that YouTube has announced, and so that's something that you can take a look at again at digitaltrends.com. Let us know what you think. We are broadcasting live, and again, thank you to everybody who's joining us live. We'll make sure and check the comments as we go through, but yeah, we want to know what people think about this. So that is one more trending topic for you here to start this Monday off. Let's get to the next one, and I'm really curious to get Luke's thoughts on this, and it has to do with Apple. and a rumor that is circulating right now about them getting into gaming. Now, we already know they've got Apple Arcade, which is for the mobile gaming platform. That's kind of its own animal, and that's not too surprising that they would want to get into that. This is something else. This is a rumor that Apple may be unveiling a new esports-centric PC that would be debuted next year at its Worldwide Developers Conference. And that's a big move. So the rumor with this, we'll get what the rumors are, and this is coming from Patently Apple, which is reporting on the new rumor. That's coming out of Taiwan. So, there's a lot of, so somebody said, but a lot of times these rumors do have some kernel of truth to them, if not completely true that something's going to be debuted. They said that the price tag could be up to $5,000, and that it could either be a large screen all-in-one or a large screen gaming laptop, but it would be part of Apple's move to get into the esports market.
Yeah.
Luke, do you think this is true or not?
My gut says that, okay, I don't know if this is true or not, but I do know if they did this, if true, huge. Because, like Apple has never made hardware that's for gaming explicitly.
Yeah.
And it's never even, outside of Apple Arcade and some, things they'll say here and there from stage, like they don't even address gamers as part of their demographic, really.
Right.
It's not part of their like, that's not part of who they're selling devices to. And there's all sorts of like reasons for that. The first one is that they don't have a lot of games that are supported on their platform.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, that's been a thing Apple has just never focused on. Despite there being people who want to play games on their MacBook Pros and whatnot and iMacs, they just haven't supported a lot of the software there. So there's that problem. It's like they make a Mac, whether it's a MacBook or an iMac, that's for game. I'm like, what games are they going to play? They've put there's a lot of hurdles to get over. Just the fact that they're putting out the hardware is one thing, but there's so many other hurdles for them they'd have to get through to make this happen in time.
But with a company like Apple, you would think maybe they'd have a chance. And now this isn't quite as big of a thing as getting into gaming, but if you look at their Apple TV Plus streaming service, to jump into original content, you either have to provide very good content at a low price or just have a ton of money and just dump a bunch of money into it, which is what they did. They just spent a bunch of money to try to get into it. And so far, I think the reviews have been, not terrible for some of their shows. Newsroom, correct me if I'm wrong, I think The Morning Show, that's the name of it. Sorry, Newsroom's great. The Morning Show. The Morning Show is the one that's getting all right reviews. But that's their push into that, and it's just a start.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it make sense that they go into this, or you're thinking just from the hardware
it would make
standpoint?
sense, but like they've always had a TV presence. It has been minimal, but like they've always had an Apple TV.
That's true. In that aspect.
Or if you look at Apple Music, they've always had music has always been an important part of their like DNA. Gaming has never ever been a part of Apple's DNA.
It'd just be starting from scratch.
It would be starting from scratch, and maybe there's a case to be made like, okay, they have to make the hardware first, and then build it, and then they will come.
Yeah.
And they do have the money to push that along for sure. But this would be just crazy. Like it's not like you need a gaming specific machine to play Apple Arcade games, right?
Right.
And maybe that'll change in the future. Maybe they have the idea of like stuffing that full of games that actually require a little more hardware. But man, this would be a big change in Apple's direction. And I think if this was true, a lot of people would be really happy about it.
You think so?
Oh yeah. There's definitely like an audience out there for it, and I think people would be really interested. I don't know if you saw this, the price that was floating around there was $5,000.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. It depends on, though, if you're talking about a MacBook Pro or an iMac, something like that. My guess would be probably a MacBook Pro, some kind of a gaming laptop.
See, I wonder what that interface would be like. Like if they kept it the same as PC, it was just running on an Apple.
Oh, no, they would never do that.
They wouldn't do that, so they would have to have their own interface.
It would have to all work within Apple's ecosystem. That's where they,
get people in there like in a 5,000, and this is all speculative, but,
all speculative,
but if, it was that $5,000 entry point to get in there.
And that was it? Like that's the only way to get in?
Yeah, that's a tough sell.
Mm-hmm. There is gaming hardware that's expensive, and and Apple would probably be making the best and the sleekest and whatever, but that's a tough sell. Sell is if that's the baseline. Like, I don't know. I'm really curious though if this turns out to be true, like what their plan is.
Right, where they would go from there. Well, that's one of the rumors, and just we want to bring that up when it does happen, these kinds of things, and it's getting at least a lot of spin today as far as a trending tech topic of if Apple were to jump into the gaming arena, if you will. That's something you can read more about at digitaltrends.com. Let us know what you think. And we've got one more trending topic here, and then we're going to take a break and come back with some Read 'em and Weep, where we talk about some other trending topics. But this is one that's right now that's hitting the internet very big, and it has to do with electric vehicles. Obviously, that's a huge, huge topic of conversation right now with all the different manufacturers that are getting into the EV game. But now we have a state entity doing so, and that is Turkey. Turkey has pledged, I believe it's $1.7 billion into their line of, or $3.7 billion, excuse me, wanted to make sure I got that number right, $3.7 billion into a new Turkish electric vehicle they have debuted. It's called the TOGG. TOGG, that is the name that they're going for, and it's from the Turkey Automobile Joint Venture Group. And this is the model that's going to use, that this technology is apparently developed entirely in Turkey. And this, I'm calling it a national car because it's $3.7 billion from the government. That's a pretty big investment. Taking a look at it, it doesn't look that bad. It looks sleek. This is one that they say that they're going to be able to compete with everybody in. It's got a 400 horsepower variant, a 4.8 second sprint from 0 to 62 miles per hour, 300 miles of driving range. That's about standard right now for at least a good electric vehicle, at least as far as what companies are touting. 300 miles for that. It's got 4 different screens on the inside, including an instrument cluster, an infotainment system, one for the passenger, and then one for climate control, entirely just for climate control that you would have a screen for. So this is what they're putting forward. And again, it's a trending topic right now of what they are saying. They're saying that the plant that they're building would have an annual capacity of 175,000 cars, which represents nearly 50% of Turkey's new car market, but they're thinking that they can go beyond Turkey into Europe. Oh. So that's what they're putting out. And I never want to bring up, Yugo during this, but this could be something that's actually pretty, maybe this will work. Maybe this will work out for them.
Maybe it'll work for Turkey. It's a huge undertaking.
Huge undertaking.
It's a huge investment.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess I'm not super familiar with Turkey's other national products.
Right.
I don't know if there's a TOGG microwave or a TOGG.
I don't think so, but there could be. Maybe there is. Yes.
Yeah, who knows? It's really interesting. I don't know if this is going to that we'll see more of this in the future,
right.
like other, because it does require, like the amount of money that is required to invest in this much technology. If you're not a huge company in the U.S.,
yeah,
it does take like a countrywide movement of money to make it happen.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's going to pay off, though, who knows? But clearly, they think it's worth putting it all in for. And obviously, they have, like you said, they have. I also read that they have 5 models planned in the next 15 years, which so they're not just being like, oh, we're going to.
They're thinking further out. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we'll see more countries, start to do this, try to get in. I mean, I guess it does show how everybody's viewing the electric vehicle market, that there is a lot of potential there. I know we need to get to a break, so let's go ahead and do that. But I want to thank everybody who's tuning in live right now, whatever platform you're watching. We do appreciate it. You can drop in your comments and questions. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to do some Read 'em and Weep. This is where we take a look at some of the trending topics around the internet, and we address them directly to you, maybe even some comments as we go through the show. So stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you're watching. Hit that subscribe button. That way you get the notifications when we do go live. And since we are live, as I mentioned previously, we're going to go ahead and take some comments right now. This is a section called Read 'em and Weep. I'm Greg Nibbler here with Luke Larson. Luke, are you prepared for this?
I guess I have to be.
Are you prepared to cry before the end of the year? Because it's a possibility
That's a good
that
way to
could
end
happen.
the year.
Are you prepared to cry, Luke? This is what we give to the show here. All right. This is from Morgan on Twitter. Oh, today is National Bacon Day. I did not know that. Let's all agree that bacon makes any dish 10 times better. I mean, I would say I am a bacon fan. I don't know if it's 10 times better.
10 times might be a lot, but
That's a lot.
I did put bacon in a recipe for Thanksgiving this year, and it did make it better.
Was it success?
It was
a success.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, congratulations. So
I can confirm it
we
does get
we
better.
can confirm. Well, Morgan, thank you. Yes, bacon is good. Todd, regarding in memoriam, all the best tech that died in the 2020s. Bite me. I love my Zune and use it all the time. Signed, Dinosaur. You know what? I'm going to agree. The Zune was awesome, and I am fully on board with that. It did die, though.
Yeah,
I think the statement's still right. But yes, the Zune was great.
Whether or not Dinah has a Zune at home that actually works is irrelevant. It did die.
Mine does not, but I did like it. I liked it better than the what was the other ones that we had there? I mean, all the other MP3 players. Now I feel like they're all dead anyway. All right, Flat Earther regarding tech that died in the 2010s. This is gonna be good. Sponsored by the NWO, who wants to know what you listen to and watch. Yeah, Flat Earther, sticking true to your brand. I appreciate that.
Very on
the
brand.
New World Order that's out there. I'm assuming that's what that stands for. But yeah, see, this is exactly what they're trying to tell you, Luke.
Mr. Earther.
Yes, so Mr. Flat Earther's on to your games and knows what you're up to right there. All right, so Flat Earther, thank you very much. I want to check out that account to see what else is being said there. Simon, regarding it will take 20,000 years for our earliest probes to reach Alpha Centauri. Perhaps the Robinsons will be there by then as well. Okay, I see what you're talking about there. Do you watch that show on Netflix?
Is that Lost in Space?
Lost in Space?
No, I do not.
Okay. I started watching it, but I will say that the children on the show get quite annoying, so I had to turn it off. And I am a big sci-fi fan. It takes a lot for me to turn something off.
Wow.
But that was where I was. But the new season just dropped, so there's that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's out there. Total non sequitur. Really just kind of.
See you on Alpha Centauri.
We're reading these live. Hey everybody. I don't even know. Nemesio, regarding WhatsApp, why Americans don't use it. The deets still hate this guy. Wow.
Still.
Wow. I'm assuming you're referring to our own Riley Wynn there.
Oh, don't use his name. Oh.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, Riley can handle it. Nemesio apparently still hate this guy, yet you're still watching the video. That's all I have to say about that.
You know, like, we'll check in a couple of videos down the line if he still hates this guy. Like, he's going to say that every time.
If he's still watching him, he doesn't actually. He's just doing that. It's just like his own little nemesis thing.
His own little Nemesio thing.
The J.R. Ewing of... No, I'm not going to go there. All right, Midwest Crypt Keeper. Regarding at Crypt Midwest, 2020 will be the year for the Twitter edit button. Oh my God, I hope so. I am in so need of a Twitter edit button. Just give me 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds preferably after I post so that I can fix whatever typo my stupid thumbs have just.
They have it on email. That you can unsend an email.
Yeah.
You can't unsend a tweet though.
Just
you gotta
let
delete
me.
it.
I don't even need to unsend it. Like, you can still be out there. Just let me. It can say like, spelling corrected. You know, anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will say, I do think there has to be a time limit on it.
A time limit, for sure.
Because you can't go back and edit old tweets. I don't think that's fair.
No, but I think you should get like, okay, fine, I'll go in the middle, 20 seconds. 20 seconds, to where when I post that, I can be like, God dang it. Because you're trying to type as fast as you can, and we have thumbs that are big. Sometimes they
Your
don't.
hot take gets a little messed up.
My hot take gets a little messed up. So yes, I am all for that. Well, that's certainly something that I hope 2020 will bring, and we'll keep you up to date on what 2020 will bring in technology. This is Digital Trends Live, and again, thank you everybody who's joining us. We're back. We're keeping you up to date with what's going on in tech. There's a lot happening. Up next, we've got Krista Whitley, who's going to join us, who's the founder of Altitude Products, to talk about CBD. So we're going to be discussing some of their products, how tech is changing that, what that means going forward, where they're at right now. A lot to talk about with it. If you have questions, drop those in on whatever platform you are watching on. Before we go to break, though, thank you, Luke.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yep, thank you for joining us. This is always fun. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to technology. And again, drop in your comments. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. You know, as we wrap up a decade of tech, it's time to take a look back at some of the incredible accomplishments we've had, but also some of the ways that we may be heading toward a Black Mirror-like future. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. The signs that tech is heading us into a dystopia. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Will Nickel. Hello, Will.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I am excited to talk about this article that you have out, just kind of detailing some of these signs of maybe an impending tech apocalypse that could be happening based on some of the tech that we have right now. And let's walk through some of this. So this is kind of taking a look back at the last 10 years of tech and what brought us closer to a dystopia.
Yeah, it's, 10 years ago, it felt a little optimistic, didn't it?
Right.
Social media was kind of my focal point when I started this piece. I recall, back during the Arab Spring, there was so much enthusiasm about how social media was going to spur, mass movements, unite people, promote democracy, and nowadays it's just a nightmare zone.
Now it's changed. Prepare to get depressed. No, but I mean, that's true. It has changed. Like, some of the outlook on some of this tech really has. And I think it's a good point bringing up the Arab Spring, because that was such a great moment in technology. But now, this is something that you highlighted in this, and Will kind of went through several different things, but social media changing and the way that we view it has changed.
Yeah. There's like so much pessimism around it now, yet no one can really stop using it. I feel like
Yeah.
the self-hating Twitter user has become such a
Right.
caricature these days.
Yeah, that's not unique anymore if you're a self-hating Twitter person. Yeah, you're really just blending in with everybody else.
But there's more. I mean, we've basically created a surveillance state around us now with cameras in every room of our houses, in our pockets, and whatnot.
Right.
Just saw there was another Wyze hack today.
Yep.
Which, I feel like we can't go a week without someone hacking into a camera and
No.
like, haranguing people in their living room or whatnot.
Right, and especially with smart home devices. I mean, that is such a key one with cameras or any other kind of thing that we have in our house. They are getting hacked, and these are, when you talk about like a dystopia type of thing, though, with your article, and you look at like Black Mirror. I mean, this is a perfect representation. It's bringing everything into your house. You interact with it in every way. It's in every room, in theory. So yeah, the Internet of Things is kind of.
It's not difficult either. Like people have got these Discord servers where they're just kind of plotting it, and it's kind of like a game for them.
Right.
So yeah, it is. We are under the camera, us literally now.
Right. Yeah.
Everywhere we go in life, and other people can see through this.
See,
It's pretty creepy.
and there's lots of good things that we can talk about with tech, but this article in particular is about the dystopian nature of technology, and that's what we're looking at, and also probably, future themes for movies that we're going to see this year, where all of this, somebody's writing a movie about every single one of these things right now. So there's that. So we're looking at social media, how that's changed over the last 10 years, the way that we've surrounded ourselves with cameras and the Internet of Things. Let's talk about a couple other ones here. From your article.
Kind of maybe a little more tame, but e-scooters and delivery robots are just an urban design nightmare.
Now, how is that a dystopian look? So how does that an urban design nightmare?
They're often cluttering, sidewalks, which I know it doesn't seem too terrible necessarily, just walk around them, but for people with impaired mobility, it's a big problem.
That's true, actually.
Just that off the bat. And then it's also just kind of an eyesore, especially with people protesting them, I guess, by setting them on fire and whatnot. I remember I recently saw just a tree downtown where someone had strung up like 10 of them,
Put them up into the tree.
Yeah, like just dangling from branches. It was very haunting.
There are a lot of examples too of e-scooters that's online. There's Instagram accounts that are just dedicated to people, destroying them, or vigilantes, or accidents that happen with them that where nobody gets too seriously hurt. But still, that people who are lauding the fact that they are not welcome in their cities. So that is true. That's another good one. That would be an interesting everything's framed by Black Mirror for me. But that would be an interesting episode.
Yeah, for me, it's not even like the tech is too scary. It's just these big corporations are launching a product with no regard for how it's going to interfere with daily society, and we're left to kind of clean up the mess.
Okay. All right, so there it is. E-scooters, another sign of our dystopian tech future. Let's go on to a couple more here that we've got.
Oh, yeah, so
highlight.
Drone warfare, not maybe as, obviously we've been using drones in war for years now.
Right.
But we're also kind of one of the most advanced militaries ever. But there was this attack in Saudi Arabia on the oil field where it was Houthi rebels or the ones who took responsibility, and they are not nearly as advanced as the US militarily. So we're seeing this trend where weapons that can do this huge damage remote are getting cheaper. These were, I think I saw a New York Times interview where an expert said it was like $15,000 max to build these drone bombers. And moving forward, like war could be cheaper.
More people could be able to get access to those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is true. When it comes to drones, there's always something new coming out, and that accessibility to them does, again, we're taking a look at some of the flip side of a lot of this technology. There's a lot of great things, but this is true. This is something that, we're going to see more and more of is drones being utilized in different ways than maybe we originally intended them for, and the cheaper that they are, the more accessible some of these different outfits will have access to them. So drone warfare, there's another one. Let's do one more here from from your article. And again, I want to ask too, just sitting down and thinking about this article had to be, very uplifting and very.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was so funny brainstorming it because I originally just wanted to do the Black Mirror Award for 2019's scariest trend, and we started digging into it, and it was so many things that have been going on for years. Another one I thought was pretty frightening this year was big data.
Yes.
All of our data is constantly being hoovered up by companies. The Equifax leak, I feel like, was the big.
Oh yeah, that one was
big
huge.
flashpoint for that. But I mean, Cambridge Analytica with Facebook, everything you do online is being tracked by people, and your information is being bought and sold constantly, and you're not getting getting a cent of that. But it's also just frightening how much people know about us.
Right.
So many of these targeted ads that I see, I'm like, when did I even
How
look
did
that
you know?
up?
Yes. Yeah. When did I click on that? What was I talking about? Yeah, that is true. With the targeted ads, that's something that I always think about, especially when I'm on Facebook. I'm like, how did you know?
And worse, these corporations, they can't keep this stuff safe.
Yeah.
I don't know who could possibly have my social security number out there, but maybe someone does.
Right.
That
Yeah.
I didn't even know it got stolen.
Yeah. So there it is. Again, an uplifting segment here at Digital Trends, taking a look at the dystopian future that we're all living in. Now, but that's why this article is great, though. It's taking a look at 10 years of tech, and there's a lot of angles to look at it. I mean, a lot of things have been great, a lot of things have changed, and a lot of things to think about going forward when it comes to it.
The new year is a time for reflection.
Yes.
Occasional pessimism.
Yes.
But maybe this will spur some people to, really regulate tech moving forward.
See, and I think that's a good thing. Like you said, we came in the 2010s with a lot of optimism. Now we're like, oh, here's what we've created. Here's the monster that could be coming. But now it's time to change that. So then by 2020, we'll be, it is 2020. By 2030, there we go, another 10 years. Yeah, things will be back on the up.
We've got like 48 hours to fix all this.
48 hours, there it is. Will is challenging you right now to fix all of this. All right, well, this is one of the series of articles that we got up, and it really is great. It's a great read, and it's a great, it's interesting, and it's all true things, and that's the nature of technology. There's good and bad, and depends on how people utilize it and what they do with it. But it's certainly a fact of our life, and taking a look back at 10 years of it, a lot has happened, and that's why this is fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk about this, and that is part of our show here. And so I want to encourage everybody to check out that article at Digital Trends. There's a lot of different coverage that we have, kind of wrapping up the year and the decade, and looking forward, some great reads. Coming up next, we are going to take a break, and then we're going to be joined by Krista Whitley, who's the founder of Altitude Products, to talk about CBD, another very trending topic over the last, especially couple of years, and where that's at right now, how technology is changing that and getting into it. And since we are live, we can take your questions. So go ahead and drop those in on whatever platform you're on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. Wherever you find us, we do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. Of course, you can join in the chat anytime that you are watching live to let us know what you want to know about. We're happy to ask those questions. Right now, we're going to have a tech discussion and just a discussion on something that is so trending right now in general. To do so, we have Krista Whitley, who's the founder of Altitude Products, to talk about CBD and so much more. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
You have such an interesting backstory. I want to kind of give everybody an idea of that, of what your company is and why you decided to found it.
Sure. So Altitude Products started 5 years ago. I was a single mom on my couch with a daughter who had severe eczema, and I was seeking a solution to help heal her skin. And today we have 9 wholly owned CBD brands and over 360 CBD products sold in 5 countries. So we certainly have gone from my couch to the world.
That is an incredible growth rate, and it does show, a lot of your ingenuity, which we're going to talk about as well, but just the growth of CBD. To give everybody, in case anybody out there is still wondering, and I feel like education's still an important part of learning about this, can you tell everybody what your elevator pitch is when somebody asks, what's CBD?
Sure. CBD is really this amazing natural catalyst that serves to help our bodies naturally heal ourselves. It isn't a snake oil, and it really has a lot of great research behind it from places like the World Health Organization and the Mayo Clinic. But CBD is a fantastic catalyst to help us boost our immune systems and just overall feel better and have a higher quality of life.
And we've really seen it gain a lot of popularity, and a lot of people are beginning to understand it, especially over these last few years, as I'm sure obviously you have seen when you discovered this and now have created this amazing company off of it. What are some of the different technologies you've seen associated with CBD as more people are learning different ways to incorporate it into other industries?
Sure. The most important component for CBD is to make sure that we have third-party testing and that the CBD that you're consuming, putting in or on your body is consistent. And so for us, we've seen really some huge technological advances around how we incorporate the delivery of those third-party testing results directly to the consumer. And so in our case, we have all of our third-party testing currently posted in a description on our website. But really where the future is with this, and we can see even in the next 6 to 9 months, where we'll begin to see those third-party testing results and the verification of the potency level in each of those products directly on the packaging. And so there's some huge innovation happening there, as well as around product development, nano-emulsification, helping to make sure that products are formulated better and for optimal bioavailability in your body, which means you can take less and have the same effect. So there's some really cutting edge technology happening right now, and certainly transforming the way that consumers are interacting with their CBD products.
And I think that's such an important thing to bring that to light and showcase different ways that we can actually utilize CBD in its own right, and bringing it into something, I guess, catching it up and maybe growing it up to where we have that information, like we do with other products, is such an important thing, with the technology on this. And how have you seen over the last few years just the adoption rates of it, and where do you see that going in the next year to 2 years?
Well, my goodness, today CBD is trending on Google at a higher rate than Kim Kardashian and Beyonce combined. So clearly we know there's an insatiable worldwide appetite for quality CBD products. And where we have really seen kind of where that's going is really people integrating CBD into their daily lives. CBD is the component that does not make you high. You don't have to worry about failing a drug test. So you can safely use a CBD pain cream on your back to ease those aches and pains from a long week. You can incorporate CBD into your bath to help you relax after a long week. And so really, I think what we're seeing is that there's just higher quality products coming to market, and consumers are looking for easy ways to safely incorporate CBD into their day-to-day lives, really essentially paired with functional essential oils. So what we're looking at is, CBD formulations that are incorporating things like menthol and camphor and eucalyptus that we know are already going to help relieve muscle tension and improve recovery rates. So being able to incorporate that has been really fundamental to so many consumers understanding how CBD can best help them live their best lives.
Looking at this going forward even more, and with the Consumer Electronics Show is coming up, that's a big thing here at Digital Trends that we're going to be covering in different ways, that tech is going to be changing our lives over the next year. Sometimes you're even looking further out with that, and different ways that tech incorporates in to other products. It's something that's always growing. I mean, tech's pretty much a part of everything now. How do you see that with CBD and tech, say like 5 years out in the future? Where do you see brands going with the technology?
Absolutely. I think that, when we look at 5 to 10 years down the road, I think CBD will have absolutely mainstream acceptance. And will have much more educated consumers in the different methodologies that they can incorporate CBD into their lives, whether it's using CBD to treat migraines as opposed to an opioid. And I think mainstream medicine is having a huge, very quick adoption to incorporating CBD in all plant natural therapies. And so I think, 5 to 10 years from now, I think it won't necessarily just be the trending thing. I think it will actually become part of everyone's wellness. Just like we know that having lavender involved helps us to relax or improve our sleep, I think we'll begin to also see that mainstream adoption in everyone's wellness routine, so that day to day, CBD is actually part of your natural solution and a part of your medicine cabinet at home.
Well, it's an exciting field to learn about, and certainly you are at the forefront of all of this and finding out different ways that CBD can be incorporated into our lives, just to help better lives. That's something we always love discussing here at Digital Trends. And for people who want to know more about Altitude or get or purchase some of your products, what is the best place for them to go find information?
Yeah, so visit CBD Caring, CARING, CBD Caring. They're CBD products from people who care.
Well, Krista, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. Really appreciate it. And thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks for having me.
All right, really fascinating learning about how that is being incorporated. And I think probably for a lot of us, we're figuring out some more ways that CBD is being utilized. And that's a great thing to discuss and to learn about here on Digital Trends. And that's what we're all about, is having interesting conversations and discussions and learning about technology. So here's what's coming up next. We are going to take a break. We've got lots of coverage coming up here on the show. We're going to be coming back, and I believe we're going to be talking to Mike Merrill. So Mike Merrill is the world's first publicly traded person. Yes, I said that right. So world's first publicly traded person, to where he's on the stock market of his own. So we're going to talk about what that's like, how that happened, what that means. All of that's coming up and more here on Digital Trends Live. Publicly traded. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate everybody who joins into the platform, and of course hit subscribe to make sure you get the notifications when we do go live. And let's talk about some cutting edge technology right now and different ways that tech can be utilized for us. This is an interesting conversation we're going to have. Joining us, we have Mike Merrill, the world's first publicly traded person, to talk about your platform and what it is. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat about it. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the beginning and just what the platform was that you created and what it's like to be the first publicly traded person.
Yeah, so the project started, it's been going for like 11 years, and I had this idea of a way to kind of collaborate with people online that I would kind of create a stock market. People would buy shares, and then when I had big decisions to make, I could put those up for vote. And as many shares as you had was how much kind of power over my life I would give you. And so basically, anytime I kind of think of a question that's going to affect my life in some way, I put it up to my shareholders, and they kind of guide me from one path to another.
Which is a lot of trust to put into random strangers, essentially.
It's true, and I think especially with the internet, we've seen that go off the rails occasionally. I have a little bit of a safety barrier in that in order for people to come in, they have to spend money. So right now my share price is $5.70 a share. So if someone wants to come in and troll me, for every little piece of influence, they have to pay for it. And that's been a pretty good, not a perfect, but it's been a good way to sort of, keep the trolls at bay.
That's true. Yeah, I guess money is a good barrier when it comes down to that. Well, talking about the money, the financial side of things too, just to give everybody an understanding of how it works. So, do the shareholders get paid out of this, or what is the cost benefit on that end?
There's no dividends.
Okay.
But when I started 11 years ago, it was $1 a share, and now it's up to $5.70. So some people have made money over that time. It's gone up and down over the years, and some people have probably lost a little. It's I like to say that I'm a high risk investment.
Well, talking about and I want to get into your platform now too as well. But before we go to that, just a quick understanding of what are some of the big decisions that you've made based on this.
The first real personal decision that I was struggling with, and I realized it was kind of a shareholder question, was when I was asking a lot of my friends about it, and it was whether or not I should get a vasectomy. And so I was really like one way or the other, wasn't sure, and I put it up for a vote, and I was like, I just want the question answered. I don't want to have to think about it anymore. And there was a heated debate, and ultimately I did not do it. They voted it down. So that was kind of the first big personal question. And then, it really varies from something as dramatic as that to as small as, should I buy a car or should I buy car free? It kind of goes all over the place.
Those are some big decisions. I was expecting something smaller to start off with, but yeah, that's a big personal decision to put out there. Well, looking at it from this, you've been doing it for a few years, and you've got this other platform now too. Now let's get into talking about this. It's kmikeyM.com. So let's talk about what that is and what that means.
Yeah, so that is the I can't go and list myself on NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. So
right.
Basically had to build it myself. So with some friends who are pretty good at this, we put together the simplest form of a market. So you can offer shares for sale, and you can accept those offers for sale or to buy, and that's it. Like it's a very manual system. There's not even any auto matching of those orders. And so my share price, it probably trades, there'll be flurries of activity, but sometimes I'll go days and the share price won't change because I think right now there's about 1,000 shareholders. So it's a very low volume market, and nothing like the sort of busyness or agony that you see on the New York Stock Exchange. But at the same time, every day I wake up and it's the first thing I check. Were there any trades? Am I up or down? How is being on this show going to affect my my stock price? Hopefully someone wants to go and buy some shares, and I go up, and then I get to feel great for the rest of the day.
Right, and that's where they can go do that too, is kmikeyM.com. That's where they can buy some shares. I'm looking at some of these shareholder votes using psychedelics. One of them, official positions on cryptocurrency. How long do you let the votes go before you decide, okay, we're capping it right now?
I usually, because the system, it's all yay or nay votes for the most part, and so usually let them run for a couple of days, send an email out to all the users to give them a chance to vote. Occasionally there's been things that are really short term and I need a quick turnaround, but then there's been a little bit of pushback because some people feel like they didn't see the alert, they don't get time to vote. So try to give people a couple days. Which really means it's kind of for these bigger or at least longer term decisions. It's not a great system for spur of the moment or even like direct control of my day-to-day life.
How's the reaction been to this? Just as far as, have you had other people approach you wanting to do the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like every month or so, somebody will reach out and either ask to, use the same code base, or how did I do it? Or, I should probably write up and sell a PDF or something about that. But everyone who tries it, they tend to kind of fall off after a little while. I think it's a lot of work. It's really like, it's about community building and engaging with these people and really taking into account what they say and treating it, there's no formal obligation, but at any time that I violate that sort of trust that I have with those shareholders, they're going to sell all their shares and my price goes down, and then I'm going to feel terrible.
How long do you anticipate keeping this going?
I don't know. I don't have a set end date, but I've always thought that it should end in the same manner that it started. So it needs some kind of like financial equivalent to end, and like hopefully that's not going to be like an Enron scandal. Hopefully, it'll be more like I don't want it to be bankruptcy, but maybe I could do like a leveraged buyout, and take myself private, do a restructure. That's always kind of appealed to me.
Right, I like that idea. Yeah, that's good. Take yourself off the market. Well, looking at it going forward, any other projects or anything that you want to let people know about associated with this?
It ends up being a really kind of personal interaction that I have, and I think that comes from just I've been online for a really long time. So it's less about these like big giant kind of structures like a startup or something like that, and it is this kind of what I like to think of as small internet kind of moment where it's my interaction and trying to share these personal things and get feedback from a small number of people. Which is not the greatest selling point for anyone who's kind of looking at it. But I think what happens is people end up just curious enough, they come check it out, they either get turned off and leave, or if they're the kind of people that find this interesting, they're generally the kind of people that are going to kind of get a lot out of it as a shareholder as well.
Well, I know also this has kind of spun into some other aspects that maybe wasn't anticipated to begin with. I know that Amazon and Sony, there's an option there as far as a television show. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I sold an option on my life rights to Sony, and then Amazon is working on developing a television show, and I'll be a co-executive producer, which is really exciting. And it's just one of those things that's in development. So there hasn't been any new news about it for a while, but it's chugging along. I get occasional updates on how things are going, and I'm super excited about it. I assume and hope that will raise my share price when it comes out.
You would think so. I mean, it's got to be a boost at least, to some extent. I mean, what was that like selling? I guess for you, maybe it's not as, I guess it's kind of along the lines of what you were already doing, but optioning your life story, like just that phrase alone. What was that like signing that paperwork?
It's really strange. It's a huge contract that details every possible thing that could possibly happen, and I started to realize that like someone else is going to be more famous for this thing that I've done than I am. And so that's kind of like, that's the trade that you're making. You're getting a little bit of, you're getting money obviously in exchange for your idea. It's kind of like selling intellectual property. But I'm really excited because they're going it's all fiction, and it's going to be a version of this thing that I do that can explore all the things that I never could or did or had opportunity to. So I'm kind of excited to see it. It's kind of a fork away from what I did and what somebody else might do with it.
What choices could have been made based upon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's so fascinating, and I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on the show, just to talk about it. And kmikeym.com, that's where people can go and invest in Mike and pick up some shares. And thank you so much for being here on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really enjoyed it.
All right, so there we go. So that was Mike Merrill talking about, basically making yourself a company and selling shares in yourself. That's just such a fascinating story, and that's what we like to bring you here at Digital Trends are really fascinating stories like that. Really appreciate Mike joining us here on the show. That was so awesome. And thanks to everybody who's joining us right now. So wherever you're watching, we're broadcasting live. We want to know your questions, your comments, so drop those in there. We're going to come back. We've got some more news. We've got Drew Prindle for some awesome tech you can't buy yet, which is coming up on the show too, to talk about some really cool crowdfunding stories that are going on. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate you tuning into the program and going down this tech conversation that we get to have with you here every single day. And we get to discuss some of the cutting edge things that are happening in technology and have great interviews. Let's talk about some news right now, some trending stories. The first comes from NASA and has to do with the Mars 2020 rover and the debut of that to the media, which recently happened from NASA. So this is something that's been a years long project where NASA has been working for this next rover, this next generation, and everything it's going to do. There it is. This is the actual laboratory where they're working on it. They have a live stream that goes on of this to where you can kind of check in and see them working on it. You can see they've got all of their stat suits on just to make sure that they aren't contaminating anything with that equipment. There it is right there. So that's kind of showcasing what the rover looks like with those 6 different wheels and that myriad of different technical equipment that is on it. So the machine itself, talking about the build side of things, 6 wheels designed for added durability that the previous rovers didn't have. It's done a drive test where they actually showcased it moving and part of the driving abilities of it. They also talked about how it's going to be able to go up different inclines, and that's going to give it accessibility to a lot of different places that previously the rovers were not able to do. So there it is. Obviously, it's moving pretty slow right there. But that is some of what it's going to do. Now, this movement right there, you can see all of those different scientists sitting around on that, trying to make sure that everything's working correctly, because once it's on Mars, you're not going to be able to really correct it afterward. And that is the last time it's going to be moving until it gets to the surface of Mars. So that's a big thing right there. That's the last time this will ever move like that on Earth, at least according to some of the studies that they've just released. Now, it is going to be moving to a different facility after this. Some of the things that it's going to do, so if you're taking a look at it right there, you see all the different equipment on there, just a few things it'll be equipped with. It's going to have high resolution, wide field of view color navigation cameras. So that means that we're going to get to see better imagery of the actual surface of Mars and different things it's going to be looking at. It's got an extra computer brain for processing images and videos. That's a big thing for making maps, an auto navigation feature. If you think about it, it's got to have the most cutting edge technology right now, because by the time it gets up there, it's going to be 2021 by the time it lands. So it's going to launch this next year, probably July or August of 2020, and then it'll arrive on Mars in February of 2021 is the anticipated Arrival time to the Jezero crater is where it's going to end up. And then it's going to be able to use ground-penetrating radar. It's going to look for biological signs of possible past life, all kinds of different tests that it's going to be able to do. But it's such a huge accomplishment, so it's always cool to see these things come to fruition. You know, several years ago, these were just animations where they anticipated maybe what they would be able to do, and now we're actually seeing the actual object itself before it's launched to Mars, and pretty cool achievement by them. And that's coming from NASA. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with a space theme right now, let's talk about Elon Musk. Certainly, SpaceX has had a huge year, if not a huge decade, when it comes to commercial space exploration. And now we're getting ever closer to SpaceX finally launching a human-powered flight, where we're going to have humans on board, and that is what we're looking at right now. So this is all these tests that they've been doing with their with the Dragon capsules, with the Falcon 9 rockets, and different ways that they want to get people up there into space and going to the International Space Station. This is a video that Elon Musk released showcasing an animation of what it's going to be like once they send humans in their capsule right there, so in their Starship. This is an example of going up into space and actually getting onto the International Space Station. It's a pretty cool rendition of what they're going to be doing. And part of this that they talked about, part of what he posted was when this could be happening. So some people asked some questions on Twitter saying, will this be ready by February? And he said that yes, it'll probably be ready by February at the Cape, but there'll be a lot of safety reviews that go after that. And that's the key thing with all of this. Why we see so much testing going on is because they want to figure out every single issue and problem possible before you actually send a human on board. There's another example, too, of working on the dome for this. So that's for the Starship itself, and that's the actual dome that will be used by, to protect humans once they're inside of there, as it goes up into space. So it's still pretty exciting. And yeah, he said they have all these safety reviews that are going to be going on over the next few months after that February completion date, tentative completion date. These things change quite a bit. But what it all gets down to is that it means we could be having our first manned mission that could be happening here coming up in possibly even as early as spring 2020. I'm going to guess it's going to go a little bit later than that, probably be later in the year. There's other companies that are working on this too, but SpaceX seems to be at the forefront. Possibly later, but it looks good right now that 2020 could be that year that we see this happen. So exciting stuff to follow up on and just to stay tuned for. You can always check more out at digitaltrends.com. And our final story, let's go to a mystery here on Digital Trends Live, and it has to do with a drone mystery happening over the skies of Colorado and Nebraska. So this is something that's been going on for a few weeks. If you live in that area, you're probably aware of this, but I feel like the broader world is just finding out about what's happening in Colorado. And the drone mystery is this. There are reports and actual sightings of this happening quite a few different times, and it's different sets of drones that are flying hundreds of feet over the surface of these random rural counties. What are they doing? What are they looking for? Who's flying them? All of that is part of the mystery that's going on. Now, we don't have actual footage of these. I scoured trying to find some. There's some really grainy videos, but we'll just show you some drones to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So authorities have been reporting that they've been receiving tons of calls, and this is from local law enforcement officials and residents who are trying to figure out who's operating these drones. They say that they fly in grid-like patterns of, some reports say 6 to 10 at a time, some say 3 to 4 at a time, and that they're about 6 foot in width is what they're estimating these things are. And they fly around in these formations at night with lights on, and the speculation is, what are they doing? So like we said, we don't know who's flying them. The Air Force has said it's not them. The Army has said it's not them. The DEA has said it's not them. So pretty much every government entity is denying that it has anything to do with them. And no private entity has come forward and said that they're the ones doing it. Now, the other side of this is are there any legal ramifications? And apparently, from what everybody's tried to ascertain so far, is that really there's nothing legally wrong with what they're doing, whoever this is that's flying the drones. They're high enough up, they're not invading any kind of airspace that there's an issue, so technically there's not even a legal violation, so law enforcement's kind of limited on what they can do to investigate this. And like I said, everybody's denying it anyway. So there's rampant conspiracy theories about who is doing this. Of course, there's always the aliens could be doing it. There's speculation that it's Mexican drug cartels. I really don't see that one being the case, that they're going to be flying drones over rural Colorado for that, but you never know. People get worked up about these things. And all kinds of different theories that are going on, or even just this is a test from the gas industry to map the ground below them. Who knows what it is? But that's the mystery that's been going on. It's been happening for a while. Started in Colorado, going to Nebraska. If you've seen these drones, let us know what you think. Send us in some videos, because nobody seemed to get very good videos of these things. So would love to see that. But you can check more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. Coming up, we have Drew Prindle to come in here for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, talking about some of his favorite things that he has found on the crowdfunding sites around the internet. So that's coming up here in just a minute. Stick around back here with more Digital Trends Live right after this. Hello there, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. It is now time for another one of our favorite segments here on the show, and that is Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. To do so, we have our own Drew Prindle joining us. Hello, Drew.
How's it going?
Doing well. I always love this. We do it once a week here on the show, and of course there's the series of articles that are at Digital Trends, just kind of going over some of this, but it is scouring the internet to find the best and sometimes greatest and sometimes strangest different crowdfunding products
most
that are out there.
definitely strangest.
Definitely strange. It's part of that.
Yes.
So let's walk through three of these that you have selected today. I think the first one is the OnPark 3 electric skateboard.
Yeah, so electric skateboards are obviously, they've been around for quite some time now,
Yeah.
and they're all pretty equal. I don't know. They're all the same. Like you don't see a
Right.
ton of innovation. It's pretty much just a board with a motor on it and some wheels. This one is significant because unlike all of these other ones, it has swappable batteries, which is a huge deal. Like most of them just have the battery pack bolted to the board, and when you run out of juice, your only option is to just go and plug it into a wall and wait.
Yeah, wherever you are, wherever you end up.
Yeah, so this one is significant just because you can presumably get 2 batteries and ride around, and you get, what is it, like 16 to 20 miles per battery, and if that first one runs out, you can just hot swap the other one that you got in your backpack and get right back to riding.
That is a big point. Why have companies not done this before?
I think it's because it's just a little bit more technologically challenging to get a swappable battery system and make sure that it's you're not going to get water or dirt or whatever in it.
That's true, because you're out in the elements. while
Yeah,
you're doing this.
there's a couple just tricky engineering challenges to get around, which is going to bring up the cost of production and all of that stuff. And it's just too easy to get the standard battery packs that are all self-contained, and you bolt it onto the board and you're done.
Right, and that's probably why we see so
Yeah.
many of these too that have come out. But this one in particular, yeah, that's a huge difference. Now, $500, is that really what it is?
That's how much it is on crowdfunding. I imagine it's going to be a little bit more once it gets produced. And
Yeah.
they're selling it retail, because usually on crowdfunding they're selling it for a discount
less,
if you're willing to be an early pledger or whatever.
Because I was gonna say that seems cheap compared to.
Yeah, it's crazy how much the price of electric boards has gone down in the past few years. Like a board like this just 2-3 years ago would probably have cost $1,000.
Yeah. And now it's down to that with that swappable battery. Now, does it come with a swappable battery, or is that probably depends on the level that you invest?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if it includes 2 batteries or if you just get 1 from the offset.
Still, that is a good sign of innovation when it comes to electric skateboards.
Yeah, I'm honestly just surprised that this feature has not been it had not become a regular thing sooner.
Well, I mean, especially if somebody wants to commute, then you have to sit there and worry about, how many miles did I go?
Yeah, range
Can I
anxiety.
make it back home?
It's a real problem.
Yeah, so that's a great addition. So that's the OnPark Find 3 board, and so you can check that out under our awesome tech you can't buy yet. Let's continue on with this next one. We got to get some drones. So it's a Flash Forest drone reforestation squad.
So yeah, it's not you're not funding a specific drone. Like if you back the project, you're not going to get a drone. Basically,
so
what
this is a project.
This is a weird project. It's this Canadian group that this idea has been around before. But basically, what they want to do is instead of using humans to plant trees, they're just going to enlist a bunch of drones that have special software, and they fly up in the air and get to where they need to plant the trees, and then they drop these little seed pod things that kind of stab into the ground and basically plant trees and
They stab into the ground. I don't know if I'd want
yeah,
to.
they're these little tree spike things. But yeah, so what you're getting if you back this project is you're basically helping to fund this project so that they can increase the size of their fleet and pay for some software development costs. And yeah, it's a really weird project, and honestly, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble scaling up and getting to the point where it's actually going to make a difference, and they don't have just 3 drones doing this.
Right. Those look those can't be cheap drones.
No, those
like that.
DJI big ones that are God, they're $10,000 minimum or something.
And you probably
like
have
that.
to have some customization in order to drop that stuff.
So yeah, there's a lot of groundwork to be done, but I included that one this week just because I think it's a worthy enough cause, and it's really neat to see. And I also believe they've made their funding goal, so that's exciting. So they're at least gonna start working on this.
Yeah, whether it comes to fruition, well,
Yeah.
that's one of those things that's always kind of up in the air when it comes to crowdfunding projects. But yeah, so that's a pretty cool use of technology if it goes forward.
Yeah.
Did they say where they want to reforest?
I'm assuming in Canada, but
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure it's going to depend on where flight laws allow them to do that kind of thing, because these things are going to be flying mostly autonomously. It's not they're going to have a dedicated pilot for each drone.
Yeah, tree darts onto people.
Yeah, that's not a scalable solution if you have to have a pilot for every single drone.
No.
So this is kind of going to depend on laws whether or not they can scale up effectively.
This is one of those things, though, in theory, if, whether this comes to fruition or not, but the idea behind it, I see that's something that a lot of people could take and then scale up.
Yeah.
Talk about a government doing it, or a bunch of people jumping in for Brazil or something and trying to,
Totally.
I don't know what kind of ramifications there are for it, but reforestation with autonomous drones, that idea is great.
I think really all it needs is money.
Money, yeah.
Which is why they're on crowdfunding.
Money's really what it comes down to for everything. So that's the Flash Forest Drone Reforestation Squad. Let's talk about this last one. I don't even know if I'm saying this right. XEV.
I'm not sure if it's XEV or ZEV.
ZEV.
I don't know, but
it's a 3D printed car.
Let's call it ZEV. That sounds cool.
ZEV. Yeah, ZEV does sound good.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
The ZEV 3D printed, the yo-yo 3D printed car. Okay. Let's talk about this.
So yeah,
What are we looking at here?
it's a 3D printed car. It's an electric 3D printed car. And the benefit of that is that because it's additively manufactured and they're making it with like a minimum of parts that they need, it's really only like 57 components make up the whole thing.
How? How is that even?
Because they're printing like multiple pieces
So
of
it's
it
all-
as like
yeah, I
one
guess
bit,
that's-
like that you couldn't, like it would be very difficult to make those parts through like traditional manufacturing.
That's true. I guess that does thing.
And because it's
Combine
an
them all into
electric
one.
car, the drivetrain is extremely simple compared to like what you get from a combustion engine and traditional cars.
So there it is. So that's the 3D printed car.
Yeah. So it basically looks like a smart car.
Yeah.
The Smart for 2 that they're no longer
gotta-
making in the U.S. or selling in the U.S. But
Right. I gotta wonder about the safety of that.
yeah, me too. They're probably gonna have to pass a bunch of safety regulations. So this is one that I would feel a little bit sketchy about backing on Kickstarter.
Like if you don't have actual metal, I mean, maybe there's some kind of 3D printing metal that goes in. I guess I don't really know that process.
yeah, they
but-
can 3D print with metal, but I'm not entirely sure what they're making, what materials they're using to 3D print it with.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love this idea. I think that's great. Are they talking about even? I mean, assuming the screen comes separate, but yeah, 3D printing an entire vehicle. I like that idea. I don't know if I would want to be the first adopter of that.
No, and this is another one that's going to have a pretty big like uphill battle in order for this to be like a thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
they've got to pass a bunch of different regulations. And I don't even think this would be street legal in the U.S. So if you're
probably not.
interested in this and you want to back it, definitely do some research and make sure that you'll actually be able to drive it, because I think for now it would be classified as basically like a golf cart.
Okay.
So you'd only be allowed to drive it on like closed road systems like college campuses and like retirement communities.
Yeah.
But in China, and the company behind it is a Chinese company, I think it's totally street legal.
It's the Wild West out there. So yeah, so that is the 3D printed yo-yo car from ZEV is what we're calling it. That you can take a look at right there. I mean, I think the idea of going forward of 3D printing things at home is great. This is definitely, I feel like, a ways out.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you're going to 3D print this one at home,
Yeah.
but like just
Right.
the fact that they can like use additive manufacturing and cut down on materials costs and get the price of a vehicle down to under $7,000
Yeah.
is a pretty significant milestone.
That's pretty big. Well, all right, you can take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. And again, that's all part of awesome tech you can't buy yet. And Drew, thank you.
Yeah.
As always. Always fun. And it's always fun with this show here. And I want to thank everybody who tunes into Digital Trends Live here every single weekday, where we bring you the trending tech news, interviews, headlines, discussions, and more. And let's talk about next week. So looking at tomorrow on Digital Trends Live, we'll be joined by Kiran Musunuru, the Associate Professor of Cardiovascular Medicine and Genetics at the University of Pennsylvania. We'll be talking about CRISPR and gene editing and how scientists and researchers can use gene editing technology for disease prevention. And of course, we'll have all the technology news of the day for Digital Trends. I'm Greg Nibbler.